on. Let's bring in Tom Verducci, Sports Illustrated. And this current issue of Sports Illustrated coming out this week, he spends a lot of time with Derek Jeter. And Tom joins us now. What'd you make of Keith Olbermann's screed there?
I agree completely what you said, Dan. I think a lot of the backlash is not so much directed at Derek, but how he's been covered. And that's a function of the age that we live in. I think he's the most covered, most familiar baseball player there ever was. I'm not saying he's the best. I'm not saying he's the most famous. But when you talk about playing 20 years in New York, you've played more postseason games than anybody in history. I mean, he was in our living rooms every night in October, year after year after year. And now you can watch him literally on, 3-4 different platforms. Those things didn't exist before. So he's everywhere. You hear TV everywhere. It's Jeter everywhere. And I think the backlash is directed at that more than it is the player. Because if you don't like Derek Jeter, you don't like baseball. I mean, what more do you want out of someone that you can, feel good about watching? I think a lot of times in sports, I call it the compromise of conscience. To enjoy the sport, to root for your fantasy team or your virtual team, your real team, you have to kind of check your conscience at the door and not pay attention to what these guys do off the field. You never have to do that with Derek Jeter. And if that's a bad thing, boy, I hope we have some more bad guys like Derek Jeter.
And granted, a columnist or a radio host, talk show host, you want to get people to listen to talk about what you're talking about. And Keith certainly did that. That, if you're going to, kneecap somebody going after Jeter, the farewell tour, I'm surprised. And I know you spent time with Jeter. That, to me, was out of character for him. It became very awkward. And I thought it got to the point where it was embarrassing to see it.
Well, don't forget, I don't think he wanted this stand. I don't think he orchestrated it. Has he been a part of the monetizing of the last year of Derek Jeter? Absolutely. It's his image. It's his likeness. He literally gets a part of it. That being said, it's easy to stand apart from this and say, man, this is way over the top. It's overdone. But if you're actually in these ballparks, and I'm not talking about just Yankee Stadium, being with the Yankees on the road in Kansas City and Texas and Baltimore, it is amazing the outpouring, the thanks and the celebration from these fans. I mean, I was at a game in Texas where he was called out on a play at first base, and then there was a replay review, and he got a hit, and the place erupted in cheers. I mean, it was against their team, their hometown team, the Rangers, but it was for Derek Jeter, and they were just thrilled about it. Watching, the cell phone cameras up every at-bat he takes, the signs, the families that come to the ballpark. I mean, I'm telling you, there's a lot of people out there that want this thing to be excessive, and it is.
Well, and I remember listening to that game in Arlington, watching the game, and you could hear it sounded like it was a home game for the Yankees. So I do understand that. I just think it could have been done in a different way, a softer way. But, is Jeter playing this weekend in Fenway?
I think he is. I'd be surprised if he doesn't. Now, listen, he's only played, this is amazing, he's played more than 2,700 games for the Yankees. There's only been one game
Sounds like he may have been ready to say something negative about Derek Jeter. And the phone went down naturally. By the way, Tom Verducci will join Bob Costas and Jim Cott to call Derek Jeter's final home game. That'll be tomorrow at 7 Eastern on the MLB Network. Is Tom back with us? Tom, were you about to say something negative about Jeter and your phone went dead?
I guess that's what happened.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I think he's going to play in Boston, Dan. I mean, he has only played one game in his career where the Yankees were not – it was not a meaningful game, where the Yankees were mathematically eliminated. I think he plays. I think a lot of people have bought tickets to see him in Boston. I think would disappoint them if he didn't. But here's a parallel for you. Mickey Mantle, 68. I mean, he didn't announce his retirement, but everybody knew he was retiring. He went to Boston for the last series of his career. He played the Friday night, and then on Saturday he took one at bat, and he got on a plane and went home before the game was over. I don't think Derek's going to do that.
Can you see him be the first unanimous Hall of Famer?
No. I just think when you have almost 600 sports writers voting, there's going to be some knucklehead out there, if not 3 or 4 of them, who are going to invent a reason. And maybe it's, look at me, I didn't vote for him. but to find a reason not to vote for Derek Jeter. I'd be shocked if anybody is ever unanimous.
He's Tom Verducci of Sports Illustrated. He'll be with Bob Costas, Jim Cott, calling Derek Jeter's final home game tomorrow at 7 on MLB Network. That is, weather permitting. And I suggested maybe they build a dome, get Donald Trump to build a dome over the next 24 hours to be able to take care of that, Tom, if there is heavy rain.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, do you wait until, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning to start a game because you've got the gate there? Obviously, they'll wait as long as they can, but it has to be within reason, doesn't it?
Yeah, I would think so. If I say you could reseed right now for the World Series, if you were going to take whoever your teams were in the beginning of the year, and now I ask you that as we go into the postseason, who would be the two favorites?
I would, believe it or not, I'd stick with my two preseason favorites. I picked Oakland against Washington in the World Series. Now, I think if you seeded 1 through 10 for this postseason, I think Washington would be number one, and you can arrange the other 9 teams 2 through 10 any way you want.
Really?
I really think they're the only team. If they get bounced in the first round, it would be an upset. Anybody goes out, including the Angels, with all those wins in the first round, I will not be surprised.
Likelihood of a Dodger-Angel World Series?
Not great. I think there's a better likelihood of Baltimore-Washington than the L.A. Freeway Series.
Wow.
I just think the Dodgers, the way they play defense, or don't, and that bullpen makes them shaky. And the Angels, where they can score a ton of runs, I'm not sure that is the premium in the postseason. The starting pitching scares me a little bit.
Well, have fun tomorrow night. Bring your umbrella because you're going to need it there.
I will. It could be a long night, Dan.
Yep. Thank you, Tom.
You got it.
That's,
Thank you.
Tom Verducci, Sports Illustrated.